This is News Channel 8 at 4 on your side.
Coming up on News Channel 8 at 4, Hurricane Fiona still slamming parts of the Caribbean. The first official death has been reported, and you can see the devastation left behind in Puerto Rico.
But where is this storm headed next? Max Defender 8 meteorologist Rebecca Berry will join us in a few minutes to break it down for us.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Josh Benson.
And I'm Jennifer Pignatti. Good to have you with us.
Well, first at 4 today, the world said its final farewell to Queen Elizabeth II. The 10 days of public mourning has now ended.
Hundreds of thousands have gathered across the UK and Commonwealth to pay their respects for her more than 70 years of service. NBC's Jay Gray has been in London since the Queen's passing and joins us now with more on this historic day.
A very somber and for some a very difficult day, to be frank, here in London. The public mourning is coming to a close after the death of Queen Elizabeth, though I'm not sure everyone here is quite ready to let her go. A state funeral this morning at Westminster Abbey, attended by 500 leaders, dignitaries from around the world, including President Biden and the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. They were in attendance, and it was a funeral you would expect for a queen, really wrapped in all the cloakings of the royal family and the formality of what you would expect in what is truly history unfolding during that funeral. This is a monarch that most here in the UK have known all of their lives. They haven't ever had a different leader to sit on the throne here, and so for them to say goodbye has been very difficult. After the funeral, her coffin pulled through the streets of central London, people throwing flowers, and so many just quietly paying their final respects, then loaded into a hearse where it's moved on to Windsor Castle. And of course, now it's the family's time. There will be a private service for her that only a few select close friends and staff members that had served for the Queen during her time, they taking part in that, and the burial at St. George's Chapel, again on the grounds of Windsor Castle. What happens next? Well, for the royal family, another 7 days of a mourning period. So they'll get their time to kind of pull back now. No royal duties, the end of the public mourning here. But again, I'm not sure that anyone here or in places across the Commonwealth are quite ready to let Queen Elizabeth go. That's the latest from here in London. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
And for those who could not make it to London, a local business opened early so people could watch history being made. 8 on your side, Stacey De Silva is in St. Petersburg at the Horse and Jockey British Pub with the story.
The Horse and Jockey has done this before, holding gatherings for people to watch major royal events. Admittedly, this one more somber than most. To honor the end of the longest reign in British history, some people wanted to be around others.
And this is a historic moment, and if you can, it's best to be shared.
Tanya Olson says she is a regular at the Horse and Jockey in St. Petersburg. She came out before the sun came up Monday to watch Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, surrounded by English food and culture.
Just a respect for the history and the tradition, and this sense of duty of the family.
Her mother, Ione, was 9 years old when the Queen was coronated.
She's always kept in track of Queen Elizabeth because they're contemporaries.
The pub's owner, Lee Doyle, is from Liverpool and was in the UK a week before the Queen's death.
I think it affected me and everybody I know in a way that I didn't ever think it would.
As he says it, the Queen is as British as fish and chips itself.
It's just something I always took for granted. Yeah, I always took it for granted. You got Republicans who, want a democratically elected head of state, but even they're, if there was a democratically elected head of state, it probably would have been her.
People were largely quiet and solemn as they watched the service go on. A full English breakfast menu was offered, including toast and jam, the Queen's favorite. Reporting in St. Petersburg, I'm Stacey De Silva, 8 on your side.
Tonight at 6:30, Lester Holt is in London to bring you a special edition of NBC Nightly News, Remembering the Queen. Lester and the NBC News team speak with mourners for the monarch and take a look at the young royals and young Brits after we all watched history happen today.
Yeah, what a sight. We are also tracking the tropics tonight, getting a first-hand look at all this damage left behind by Hurricane Fiona. Now, Puerto Rico is feeling the brunt of the storm. One person, we're told, has died as Hurricane Fiona knocked out the power grid and, as you can see, unleashed flooding and landslides. You can see the mass destruction. Up to 30 inches was forecast to Puerto Rican's eastern and southern regions. President Biden has declared a state of emergency in that U.S. territory, but this storm is now hitting parts of the Dominican Republic, also leaving behind severe flooding in that country. So here's a look at the latest track of Hurricane Fiona as it works its way up the eastern side of the Atlantic. So let's turn now to meteorologist Rebecca Berry. She's been watching it closely and has the future of this now deadly storm. Rebecca.
Now we do expect it to become a major hurricane, so reach Category 3 status. Luckily, it will not be near Hispaniola. It's going to continue out to the east of the Bahamas, and so it spent quite a bit of time over Puerto Rico. It didn't make a direct track, and so that's one of the reasons we saw such heavy rainfall totals and such bad flooding. It's moving a little bit more quickly past Hispaniola and more of a glancing blow than a direct hit there like we saw over Puerto Rico. But it's near Category 2 strength now, and it will reach Category 2 strength during the day, during the night or during the day tomorrow. And then by Wednesday morning, we're looking at a potential Category 3 storm. Now, the only good news about a Category 3 storm like this is that it's out over the open Atlantic, not affecting many areas. It's going to race off into the North Atlantic still as a Category 3 storm. Notice that forward motion. Still a Category 1 storm next weekend as it's well to the north of where we normally see these systems dissipating. But the sea surface temperatures in the North Atlantic are much warmer than they usually are. And so we're not seeing that immediate effect of the cooler waters once it makes its way to the north this season like we have with past seasons. So that's what's going on right now with the current track for Fiona. But we're also watching two other areas. So this is Fiona right here. Here's the next area that we're watching with a 30% chance to develop over the next 2 to 5 days. And then we're also watching this one, which is a little bit more troublesome based on where it's forming and where it's headed for our area. But right now there's only a 20% chance on it to develop. But just because that general trajectory may mean that it ends up in the Gulf if it does form. But that's a lot of question marks, and it's way too soon to tell exactly where it's going to end up. But that's the one to watch, and that's why, just based on where it's forming and the history of that location. Here's a look at Max Defender 8 right now. A lot drier than we were last week. We've only got a few isolated showers out there. I'll track where these are headed coming up next.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hurricane relief will be coming from all over the country, including right here in the Tampa Bay area. 8 on your side's Nico Clemens is live in Brandon with more on what a local organization is doing to help. Nico.
Hey, Jennifer, and we can expect many Bay Area organizations to start disaster relief efforts in the coming days, weeks, and months. But right now we are at Boricuas de Corazon. They are ready to collect supplies from medicines to diapers, hygiene kits. But they say before any of that gets started, before any of that happens, they want to make sure everyone is safe and that they are able to rescue as many people as they can. So right now, this organization has rescue teams in Puerto Rico cleaning roads so emergency crews can pass through different areas. This group here in Brandon says they want to make sure no one is in need.
Right now, Puerto Rico is devastated, not because of the hurricane Category 1. It's more by the flooding, the water that came through the areas.
And this organization, they are prepared to receive families from Puerto Rico here, Orlando, Miami as well. But they are ready and prepared to receive families because they did the same thing. The same thing happened 5 years ago, Hurricane Maria. They saw many families come to this area, so they are expected and ready to receive those families. Live in Brandon, Nico Clemens, 8 on your side.
Lawyers for Governor Ron DeSantis and ousted State Attorney Andrew Warren face off in federal court. Last month, Warren sued DeSantis, claiming his suspension was illegal, asking the judge to immediately reinstate him as Hillsborough's top prosecutor.
Well, today that request was denied, but the legal battle is far from over. 8 on your side investigative reporter Masa Saidi was inside the courtroom. She joins us now live from Tallahassee with the latest. Hey, Masa.
Hi there, Josh and Jen. I can tell you that no cameras are allowed in this federal courthouse behind me, but the judge peppered the state with questions for 46 minutes. At one point, the judge flat out said that Governor Ron DeSantis is not Andrew Warren's boss. And while Warren did not get his job back today as he had hoped, he appeared optimistic as he walked out of court.
The judge was very clear. He wants to get this right once and for all. So we look forward to a trial where the governor can come in and explain his decision and explain to the court why he thinks what he did was in compliance with federal law.
I have to do this. I mean, that's my job, to ensure that the laws are faithfully executed.
That was Governor Ron DeSantis August 4th when this saga began. We were at the news conference where DeSantis announced Warren was being suspended for alleged incompetence and failure to follow laws, including Florida's recent ban on abortion after 15 weeks. Warren escorted out of office by an armed deputy, he says. He filed suit saying his First Amendment rights were violated because he was suspended for what he said, not what he did. Today, U.S. District Judge Robert Hinkle said a trial on that First Amendment claim would happen in the next 4 to 12 weeks. But Judge Hinkle denied Warren's request for a preliminary injunction, stating he did not want to be, quote, yo-yoing this office. Flip-flopping prosecutors, the judge said, would not be in the best interest of the public. And so I was listening so carefully to every word that the judge was saying, trying to figure out what he thinks based on his comments. And again, overall, the judge did appear to be very critical of the state's case. However, he did have a problem with a pledge that Warren had signed. I'll have more on that coming up at 5, plus what happens next in this case. Reporting live in Tallahassee, I'm Masa Saidi, 8 on your side.
Still to come, new details released on the death of a University of Tampa student.
What may have led up to that deadly shooting and how his family is now remembering him.